Hello everyone. So today we're going to be modeling the National Theatre of Lagos. It's a very interesting building, and I believe we will very much enjoy working on this together. So to start with this, first of all, I'm using the Rhino version of Mac because, well, it's much easier to model. And I hope you better be watching Game of Thrones. This is my map for Game of Thrones. Uh, if you do watch, I think you will very much understand where things are. Anyways, that's just by the way. I don't need to be disturbing you with silly information. Okay, so these are the picture frames that I used as a point of reference. And this image, although it's low quality, it would actually kind of give me the understanding of how this is meant to work. So I started with this curve, the circle. I imported these with picture frame. If you need to import it, an image, if you don't know how to import, you could just type in picture frame. And then, these are the images. So you could just enter an image. Best to do it in a view, which is two-dimensional, and then just drag and place. Yeah, but I want it to be like this. So yeah, this is what I chose. And so I will use this image. These images are just for me to kind of have an idea of how it looks like. Yeah, but ideally at the end of the day, you will get to see how it will end up looking. So the first thing I want to do is kind of get a curve that sort of, you know, uh, matches this curve area. So the trick I'm going to use is to use this curve, which is interp curve. So I'll type in interpolate curve. So I'll probably be using um, the typing for my commands because in case you're using Windows, you know where to find it. Maybe the interface is probably different. And so these are my control points, or my snapping points rather. If you were using Windows, you would find them somewhere here. What would be more ideal would be to create a polyline starting from the edge of this, which is the quadrant, and the end of the quadrant. And then I will take the curve itself, turn on the control points to see how many we have. So there are two control points. We might want to increase it. So I will do rebuild, select the curve. So make it 3 point counts or 4, doesn't matter. But perhaps I'll choose 3. At the end of the day, it will still give me 4 anyway. So I'll choose these two control points, and then I will drag it down something like this. So then I would tween this curve, so kind of just giving it a bend with respect to this. So with that which you use is actually not tween curve, sorry, is curve to view. Tween curve does something else. Eventually you'll see what it does. So curve to view, I'll select this curve and the second curve, and it will give me this bend. Yeah. So that's going to be the shape of the top. And then for the second part, I want to get two edges, 1 and 2 of the shape of it. So I'm just going to use my red curve and copy it down. So I'll use my Option or Alt to copy. So I will just drag down to somewhere here where the second edge is of the columns. So you can see the columns, how it's straight here, and then at this point you have this break, and then it goes down. So that's what we're going to do. And then I would use Shift. So it would, using the gumball tool, I would use Shift and then squeeze it in. If you don't have your gumball tool turned on, probably if you're using Windows, all you just have to do is type in gumball, and so this is the toggle, on, off for it. So if you turn it on, you would have it. So it sometimes is much easier to model with the uh, gumball tool. And then next, what you want to do is drag this down. So I will use Option or Alt, Alt for Windows, Option for Mac, and then I'll just drag down again. And then I would use my uniform scale and increase the size of it. Okay. So now I have this one, which basically for now it's not important anymore. So we need this, this, and this, right? Okay. The third one that we need, if you zoom in properly, you would see here is more like an inner bowl that goes down. So we have to create something for that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this curve, which is outside at the bottom. And then I will use Shift again and do my uniform scale in. But if I just do Shift, it will take away the other curve that I had before. So what I will do is use Shift and Option or Alt, hold them together, and then drag down. And then first you release Option first. If you first release Shift, it will stop the uniform scaling. So make sure you release Option first, still holding Shift, and then release. Okay? Then you have the inner one. So I'm just approximating. It doesn't matter like the size. You can just sort of use maybe this, take maybe your line and just drag it down just to kind of approximate, you know, the area of where it's going to be. So see, maybe it's a bit too big, so I'll just use Shift. Here you can see the yellow, it's because this is what it's selecting. So if to easier understand, I selected the inner curve, not the outer one. And using my front view is what I would do to sort of scale it down to something approximately what it is. And then I'll delete this, I don't need it anymore. And then next thing I want to do is create the overall shape of it. Have the inner one, and then now I want to loft my inner curve with the outer one, but if I do that, it would give me a problem because ideally the inner bowl is supposed to be inside. So what I will do is I will do my offset, and then I would offset this inside. Prefer to do it in the top view. So you can specify distance 100 millimeters. You can do through point. If you click on through point, you would have this. Normally in Windows, your commands will not show here. They would show somewhere above here. So, but it basically does the same thing. So I would type in 100 inside, then I have my inner curve. So then I can loft this 1 and 2, okay? Straight sections, do not simplify, loft. So I have this. And then I would do the outer one, 1, 2, 3, and click loft again. So you have some seam points, but sometimes you see if it's at normal, this is what it will give you, and which is kind of like more curved, and this is not the kind of column we have here. We have it in a straight line. They're not curved, but they break at a point. So we need to make sure that we choose straight sections. There are other options, but for here we just need straight sections. Make sure do not simplify is turned on. if you go and have it in rebuild with 10 control points, you can see that the surface is not necessarily directly on the curb, which is a problem. Make sure it's on do not simplify and loft. Okay,